Sarah, do you have any theory about why these companies are outperforming? This kind of data that you're talking about that have more women.
Yeah.
I mean, are women just better business managers? It seems to be great. Maybe.
But of course. I'm biased. I come from a family of 4 girls, so that's all, of course, I see it that way. No, I think, I think there's several quite complicated answers to your question. One, I think part of this is selection, that right now there are very few, you say you can't even find the companies in some sectors. There are very few companies run by women and very few companies that have a lot of women on the boards. And so those women who get there are going to have gone through a much more difficult process to rise to the top than your average man in leadership. And so some of this is just, at this point in time, probably pure quality. Some of it is the dynamics of just inclusion. When you have a diverse team, it's just very clear whether the diversity is on race, the diversity is on gender, the diversity is on sexual orientation, that diversity, international diversity, all of that leads to better decision making because you challenge, as I said, we started with lenses, right? We all see the world through a particular lens. If you have multiple lenses around the table, the likelihood that you are going to challenge some rigid way of thinking and see a different opportunity is much more likely. So some of it's pure quality, some of it is the dynamics of the process. And what fascinates me the most about this is this idea that this data has been sitting there and it's been seen as, I want to come back to your point about it's not seen as material, right? This idea that gender is not material, I think is incredibly important. And it hooks in to a tremendous amount of research that we have around the idea of implicit bias, which basically says none of us wakes up in the morning and thinks we're going to be super sexist today, right? Like no one does, women or men, that's not on our agenda. And we even think we're trying not to be, but we are all quite socialized to code male and female behavior, men and women differently. A recent study that came out that really brings us home was looking at investing in startups. And what the experiment did was it put an identical PowerPoint document in front of an investor. Some of them were narrated with an identical script by a female voice and some narrated by a male voice. The business case is identical. There is no difference in these PowerPoints or in the script. And the PowerPoint narrated by a male voice is 60% more likely to get investment from those investors.
From women and men.
Women and men. Like, oh, I'm not exempt. We're all socialized to be sexist, right? Like it's the nature of the beast, how we are socialized in this culture. So this idea that we are leaving these opportunities sitting on the table, and I can list 4 products and 4 products only right now, given these data, when normally in the financial world we gobble up data like that, I think comes from this idea, this implicit bias, where gender and female is seen as not material somehow.